fun and be safe. And he would hug me and kiss me, and I would not know if they were okay until it was time for them to come home from school on Monday. I always had this faith. I would just talk to God, and I would know in my heart that He would not let anything happen to my children. And you know what? Every Monday they came home, and I told them, of course, you know how I feel about doing drugs or this or that, but you're going to do what you're going to do. You have to make sure that you're taking responsibility for your decisions, but just take time. 30 seconds, doesn't take that long, 30 seconds to think of all possible repercussions. You're going to do what you're going to do, right? So then what happened is one day, after they had been through their partying, I used to tell them, if you get drunk or you're doing drugs or whatever, stay where you are. Yeah, that's where you're safe. Well, this one time, my son, I was still pretty weak and my back was bad and I couldn't bend or anything. He was helping me change my sheets and make my bed. And my son says to me, he says, Mom, you know how you always say that we should take 30 seconds of our time to really think through a decision before we make a choice? I'm like, yeah. And he said, well, I wasn't going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you. I had told me, tell me anything. I'm not going to get mad and chastise him. And what were you thinking? Because how is that going to make a kid ever want to talk to you again? Yeah, right. He says, Mom, we were at this certain place, somebody's house. He said, Mom, everybody was drinking and smoking dope and using heroin and doing coke. He was just doing other stuff. And he said everybody was just really high. He said about 2, 3 in the morning, somebody got the great idea, hey, let's all get into our vehicles, go here or go there. He was like, oh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. And he said he was about to get into the van that everybody else was piling into. He said, just as he was starting to pile in, he stopped and realized, wait a minute, the driver's drunker than I am. And he says, you know what? I decided, Mom, that if I went with him, there was a high probability that we could get in an accident. Maybe I should go with somebody who wasn't drinking so much. So he said he did. Turned out, he said, Mom, the van went ahead of us, and there was a part where it was really dark. There was a sharp turn. There weren't any of those reflectors where you could see the cliff, and the van went over. And he said, Mom, I will never forget the feeling of watching that van go over the cliff. Now, nobody was seriously hurt, partly because it didn't go too far down, and everybody was so drunk they were relaxed and they weren't scared. So, but things can happen, and sometimes the permanent damage is permanent, And just for him to share with me, Mom, this is what I did, and this was, I stopped and I thought. And that's what being an adult really is to me. It's not control. Teach them right from wrong. Guide them. Give them wisdom. Give them tools so that they can function on their own. And you know what? That kid has been taking care of his own family and his stepkids, his wife, his business, his in-laws, paid off his house, paid off his in-laws' house. He's a very responsible guy. So my mother, they all are.
That's crazy, Anne Marie. It's just so crazy. It's kind of cool. I don't know what just got in my brain that you were kind of like the prodigal son's father, because you knew that they were going to do it anyway. That they just had that curiosity. That's what teenagers. I hate to say it this way, but it's what they do. It's what we all do for the most part. Unless you really are, I don't know, super controlled or something. I don't know. But the prodigal son father let them go on that journey. He even gave them half of his inheritance to do it. He knew what he was going to do. And then when he came back, he didn't chastise them, and like he didn't chastise your son. You just said, I'm so glad that you made the decision that you did. And we're like the prodigal son father, I'm so glad you decided to come home. The best thing you ever did, and it's great. And so now you've gone down those roads, and you don't really go down those roads anymore. You're done. So this is the best day of my life. I'm so happy to have you back. So you did that, and that was mother, whatever you want to call it, you were. Cool.
Well, it just suddenly occurred to me that you're supposed to raise your children, but you're not really raising children. You're supposed to raise adults. You cannot raise adults to be self-sufficient, able to make good, mature, well thought out decisions, and able to take complete personal responsibility for any repercussions of those decisions. To be able to make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, instead of sitting around with their thumb up their butt feeling sorry for themselves or blaming others because something didn't work out. Instead, to be able to sit back and say, well, I see how that didn't work out. Maybe I need to try it a different way. That is an adult. This is what we're supposed to be doing as parents. And I realized I can't raise adults by treating them like children, by controlling, micromanaging them. And then they're scared to make a decision. Then they know the only time they can breathe is they have to lie and sneak and have everybody else lie. It's sad. I don't want to put my kids in that position. How am I ever going to help them to be adults if their whole way of trying to be an adult is don't let mom find out?
Yeah, right. That's the truth. Well, thank God somebody did it right, Anne-Marie. You know, you might have gotten in the Jehovah's Witness face, and you know, it wasn't absolutely the most ideal, perfect type thing, but yet they became wonderful people and they became responsible. There's always good outcomes for everything bad. You know what I mean? If you just let it, it doesn't matter where we're at. You just turn it around.
Yeah.
The kids learn from all of those things that put them through. I mean, I had to be super responsible because my parents got divorced, and I was the oldest of 6 kids. And yeah, I resented it at the end because I wanted to be a teenager and I couldn't. But in the end, I'm more responsible because my mother put so much on me. You know?
Yeah.
Being a single mom of 6 kids, you know, there was a lot put on me, but you know, it was for the better. It kept me out of trouble, probably too. You know.
I agree. I agree. My mom was so ill. She went to bed when I was 9, and she never really got up again. She was so ill the rest of my life. And I had to do all of the family's laundry with a wringer washer machine, which was very difficult.
Oh, my goodness.
My brother had to do all the shopping. We had no cars. We had to walk, and he'd be carrying heavy bags, and it was sad. And my little brother ran wild, and we had to cook for our mom and take care of her. And you know, I'm grateful. We had a very loving, good, kind mom, but we knew that we had to do it, and it helped us to be responsible at a young age. We didn't have anybody buying us clothes or underwear or shoes, so I had to start babysitting and buying whatever I could, at, like St. Vincent de Paul, and I'd go to my friends at school, and hey, you happen to have any clothes you don't want? I would try to say it such a way where I wasn't begging, but you know, it was on me. If I had rags, well, I needed to do something about it. And you know, I think it does help you to not feel so entitled. It helps you to build a sense of personal responsibility. Because you know, I'm grateful for the way I grew up because I had a loving mother, but I had to learn responsibility very young. So it's good. It's all good. But my main thing is the way I am treated. Like I said, the last few days walking around taking care of things I've had to do, the way everybody is so cordial and kind and, you know, understanding and helpful, even customer service when I have an issue. You know, they're so respectful and so kind. And I just remember being treated with such disdain and almost a sneer. Like, what are you talking to me for? You know, yeah.
By the Watchtower.
And the difference, that's why I thought, I asked Rick if it would be okay. I just kind of wanted to focus on, you know, the difference between how we're being treated in the Watchtower and outside the Watchtower.
Oh man, and Anne-Marie, you know, the elder brief abuse is it's almost like every day I hear stories. Every day I hear stories.
Yeah.
Like, my God, those elders have been up to no good. My goodness, like what happened to you? It's like, when they give you the wrong pill, you know, You went to the reverse things and sort of completely took that power and used it in the wrong way, didn't you do? I mean, it's like, I almost think that somebody did give them all the wrong pill and they all turned out to be priests. I mean, I'm not saying every single one, but it practically seems like that to me from the way that it looks, from what we get every day in our email and texting and messenger. And it's crazy. I don't believe it. How can it be so bad? How can it be so bad?
Yeah.
I'm appalled. You don't treat people like that. But anyway, that is the way it is. And it just so happened that that's the way we were raised.
Yep.
So, we don't hear the stories this lady's going to come on today. Another one of those crazy, crazy elder stories, you know, and stuff that went on. And like, oh my God, no. Another one is afraid to come on. Tell she might be killed, you know, it's just craziness. Anyway, well.
Yeah. Well, all I know is no matter what we have been through, what we've experienced, what horrible stories we have to tell, you know what, I can't help but smile because I'm not living that way anymore.
That's right. We're not anymore. That's behind us. You know, it is.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, at least for those who are just barely out, it's beginning to get behind that. You know, and every step in the right direction to make your life better is a step to feeling better and no time flat, you know.
I mean, absolutely. Even if it's a small step. You know, my grandma.
Hello, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, this is Rick. Hello, Anne-Marie.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, we're going overtime here. We got to get to the news. Yep.
I'm so sorry.
All right, Anne-Marie, love you. God bless you guys.
Hey, love you. Thank you all for coming in. Thank you, Rick.
There you go, Anne-Marie. Well, very good program. Thank you, Angela, and thank all those people for chatting with Anne-Marie tonight. Boy, I'll tell you what, lots of people coming into the 6 screens. We certainly appreciate Anne-Marie's program, Touched by the Tentacles of the Watchtower. We'll now be going to JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, so by all means, stay with us. We got a lot of stories we'll be talking about tonight. We're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. The 6 screens video suite has been having some issues tonight. I'm not sure why, but we've been trying to get in there, and for some reason, it looks like they're doing a more, well, maybe an upgrade or something, but we're not able to get in there tonight. So if you're on the 6 screens video suite, you can't get on. So I think a number of you guys are on the telephone line, so we appreciate that. So we're going to be going to JW World News, and we thank you for coming into Anne-Marie's program. So let's go to JW World News right now. Anne-Marie's program.
Telenetwork, earning the reputation
I'm here,
of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. Disney.
Stay with us. Well, hold on 1 second. Let's go back. See what happened to that. Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to JW World News. Wow, we've been doing it for 16 years. We're not giving up now. We are reaching a lot of people. A lot of people are leaving the Watchtower, and we are counting down the last and final days of the Watchtower organization. Thank you for wanting to come in tonight. Our program starts in just a couple of seconds here. Well, there you have it. We thank you very much. My name's Rick Fearon, and I am coming to you from the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I'm so glad you could join us tonight. It's amazing. It's really amazing to me to see so many people leaving the Watchtower right now. Isn't it good, folks? I mean, you're listening in here tonight. Many of you are active witnesses. You're in the PMO class, physically in, mentally out. We have more and more of those people coming in. And I have to tell you, this just constantly, every Saturday night, you know, I look all week long, I look for news, critical news that is, of the Watchtower. The news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. But we talk about it here every Saturday night, friends. If you're on YouTube, I know we're on YouTube as well tonight. We'll be coming on YouTube now every Saturday night, right around 7 o'clock, JW World News. So by all means, join us and spread the word that we're on here live. It's one of the only real live formats like this where people can call in randomly from all over the world and speak up. So you'll be hearing a number of ex-witnesses tonight speaking up as well and letting you know how they feel about what's going on in the Watchtower. Well, my name's Rick Fearon. If you don't know who I am, I've been an apostate since 2005. I was disfellowshipped for apostasy. I did a lot of protesting at Kingdom Halls and conventions, and I'm certainly glad that I could come on here and talk with you. And back in the year 2000, I was invited down to Brooklyn, New York. I was one of the anointed, and I was invited there for a possible position. It was a job interview on the governing body. They were looking for new anointed people to become governing body members, and they invited me down to Brooklyn, New York. I met with the Brother Loesch, and we had a good discussion, but I was not impressed. I saw the Watchtower as more of a big business than it was a religion. They were masquerading as a religion. So that's who I am. Been doing this for a while. We were on YouTube back in 2009, did a number of videos, went over to Facebook. I'm back on YouTube now. People want to see it on YouTube, so I says, fine, we'll do it. So you guys want to watch the news every Saturday night, we are glad to have you join us. So anyways, let's see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. How about Kingdom Hall parking lot being a vaccination site? Did you guys see this? I'm going to put up this notice in the local newspaper. I want you to see this. This is crazy. I mean, a Kingdom Hall actually being used as a vaccination site? I never heard of such a thing, and you probably haven't either. I mean, that's something that Jehovah's Witnesses would never do, is dabble in worldly events. I mean, you couldn't have a cake sale. You couldn't have a yard sale at a Kingdom Hall. But boy, now they're saying, fine, come on down. We'll set up a vaccination spot where you can get vaccinated right here in our Kingdom Hall parking lot. Let me get this up so you guys can see it. I think you find it fascinating. I know we're going to get a lot of, you probably saw it coming across the news this week, right? Well, let's see what we got. Let's get it up here so you can see it. And we're going to open it up. And then I'm going to put it on here where you can see it on our Facebook and also on our YouTube. So let's duplicate it. There it is. There is the COVID. And there it is, Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses, 3635 Pacific Avenue, Riverside, California. May 26th, this Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., you can go to the Kingdom Hall. Now, you're not going to get a talk. I'm sure they'll have carts all over the place. I'm sure they'll have literature for you to take. But anyways, you can register, and you can go to the Kingdom Hall in the parking lot, and you can get your vaccination. But what do you think of that? I mean, that is something else, isn't it? So I think I went with the top news here tonight, that being it, because that really is getting a lot of buzz. Now, the congregation is handing out flyers, and those flyers are only going to its own members. They're not really, giving flyers, generally they have a campaign, right? They go door to door, they give you flyers, and they let you know that, hey, there's going to be an event coming up at the hall. So they're inviting people. They're not inviting the world, but they're giving these flyers out to the witnesses. This is setting a precedent of the Watchtower participating with the government. I mean, this is something we never, well, I shouldn't say we never heard of it. We talked about this, last summer, remember? Concerning the USDA food boxes. on how they were participating and handing food boxes out, supposedly to everyone who needed one, but they're only giving it to the witnesses. So for the organization to actually have a Kingdom Hall parking lot where they're going to be offering vaccines to people, I mean, I can't believe they're even endorsing the vaccination. In essence, they're saying, fine, get your vaccination. So I would say that what happened here, and I did a little research on it, the congregations who have a particular location that's very good, this particular one was good. A lot of Spanish people in the area, a lot of people in that area, and they contacted, evidently the county contacted the Jehovah's Witness congregation there in Riverside and asked them if they could use the parking lot. Now, you know, the Kingdom Halls of these days, they're really not owned by the local elders, so they would have had to get permission. At first, I was thinking, well, these are some renegade elders who said, hey, why not? But they would have had to get permission, according to what I have come across, from the organization to do this. So evidently, the organization is supporting it. So all of a sudden, the Watchtower is taking a 360-degree change. They're trying to do something that's best for the community. I can't believe it. I mean, you know the Watchtower record, they would do nothing for the community. But something doesn't pass the smell test. Something stinks here. Now, I'm thinking, is there any money involved? Is there any money involved for the Jehovah's Witnesses by allowing parking lot vaccination site? Well, I got on, I know who's in charge of setting these vaccination sites up. It's FEMA. That's the federal government agency that's working along with the institutions, churches, and various arenas to get this vaccination out. So then I got on FEMA's website. I was just curious. Does FEMA pay money to churches or to some of these arenas? I know they use Fenway Park up here in Boston. I know they use Gillette Stadium where the Patriots play. So evidently they were paid for the use of their stadium. And that goes right along with churches too, according to FEMA's website. So they're expecting to vaccinate approximately 250 people during that day, May 26th. And the ones who partner up and offer their site up, they're called FEMA partners. Now, there is some monetary involvement. They will receive money. Now, I'm not telling you for sure the Watchtower is doing this for money, but I know the Watchtower is pretty famous for, you know, smelling a buck out whenever they can get one. So I'm thinking here that Watchtower is beginning to bend its rules a little bit. When I was a witness, I was disfellowshipped in 2005 for apostasy. But when I was a witness, you had a hard time. You had a hard time doing anything at the Kingdom Hall. You wanted to have a little get together or maybe meet in the parking lot for something. You couldn't do that. You couldn't do a yard sale. You couldn't do a bake sale. You couldn't do anything like that. So the biggest issue I have here is the Watchtower is always saying they're no part of the world. Are they bending the rules? And I'm thinking they are. I'm really thinking they are. All of a sudden, it's in the best interest of the community. But I'm telling you right now, they're going to take advantage of this. They're going to set up carts. I'm sure they will. And they'll be set up probably every 10 feet apart in the parking lot. Anyone coming in for a vaccine in the world, they're going to get a witness. There's no doubt about it. But, you know, I have to say, the Jehovah's Witnesses, they are not against the vaccine. Even Watchtower has been making statements in some of their last updates. And they did make a comment that Jehovah's Witnesses are not against vaccinations. And they said that they are working in cooperation with public health officials. And they even said that many of the Bethel family have been vaccinated. Yeah, they're saying a lot. There's a lot being said in those words. So they're actually, I would say, encouraging Now, I'm not discouraging anyone from taking it. I'm just giving my news story here tonight. But the Watchtower is actually encouraging people to take the vaccination without really saying it. Now, I have a hang up with this. I really, really do. And I'm not trying to, look for anything that is trying to embellish this story. But all I know is at one time, Jehovah's Witnesses, the Watchtower that is, they were against vaccinations. They put a prohibition on vaccinations. And if you go all the way back to the Golden Age magazine, that's the front runner of the Awake magazine. If you go all the way back to 1921, October 12th, page 17, it says vaccination never prevented anything and never will. And it is a most barbarous practice. We are in the last days. They're saying this back in 1921, right? We're in the last days, and the devil is slowly losing his hold, making a strenuous effort, meanwhile, to do all the damage he can. And to his credit, can such evils be placed? So they're saying here, use your rights as an American citizen to forever abolish the devilish practice of vaccinations. That was said in 1921, the devilish practice of vaccinations. Here they are in 2021. Well, hey, friends, that's 100 years later, right? I'm just saying, just notice that. That's 100 years later. Here they have a Kingdom Hall parking lot that they're going to do vaccinations in. Now, that is absolutely unbelievable. But, I'll tell you something. I don't know if you heard this or not, coming across the news this week, all the critical news in the Watchtower. Now, there was an update that was given on JW Stream. 17,000 Jehovah's Witnesses have died due to coronavirus. And that was an update right on JW Stream. I'm going to play that for you. I'm going to play that stream. If you're on Facebook, you will see it. And I want you to see it. I think you'll find it really, really fascinating. So let me get that up so you can see it on Facebook. You can also see it on YouTube. So let's get that up. Here's the governing body, and he's talking about all the challenges Jehovah's Witnesses had. And let me just say this, and it's been said. Remember Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago? Well, he started, never let a good crisis go to waste. That's the same thing the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing. This coronavirus has been a wonderful pandemic for them. I mean, they have really used it to the nth degree. This has been nothing but a blessing for them. So, but now they're saying 17,000 deaths. But they've been using this pandemic to scare the living daylights out of witnesses. I have relatives that are Jehovah's Witnesses, and some of them will not even come out of their house, really, unless they really have to. They won't even go to work right now because they're still scared to death of the coronavirus, even though states are saying, take the mask off, we're going back to normal. But Jehovah's Witnesses are still kind of holding back. Hey, let's take a look at that video. Let's take a look at that video. Take a look at it and see what you think. We'll play a couple of minutes of it, and I want you guys to see what you think.
Or persecution, or hunger, or nakedness, or danger, or sword? Notice how Paul answered that question in verse 37. On the contrary, in all these things, we are coming off completely victorious through the one who loved us. That's a very fitting scripture for this update. Many of the things Paul mentioned, we've experienced in the past year. There have been many challenges, yet through the help we receive from Jehovah, we are coming off victorious. Of course, we're all contending with the pandemic. Jehovah's organization has been complying with guidance from public health officials worldwide. We've worked hard as an organization to show deep respect for the sanctity of life. And we've watched Jehovah bless these efforts as our meetings and ministry have thrived. However, we are not immune to the effects of the virus. As of May 15th, we have now lost over 17,000 of our dear brothers and sisters to COVID-19. No doubt most of us have lost someone we love. How comforting to know that our loved ones are safe in Jehovah's memory. Even death has not separated them from Jehovah. There have been many recent news reports about the pandemic in India and Brazil.
Well, he goes on to talk about that. More scare tactics. The video lasts about 17 minutes. But, I'm seeing the Watchtower is going to get everything they possibly can out of this virus. Yes, there are problems in India. And yes, in other parts of the world, I believe Brazil, he said as well. But remember, most churches right now are going back. Most churches are saying, come on back in, we're ready to go. Most communities are offering help as far as, hey, listen, you don't have to wear the mask, or you get our schools back in order and what have you. But here we have Mark Sanderson, governing body member, still using scare tactics. And did you notice that suit? Man, that is a very expensive, tailored suit. All the fine clothes. Here we are in the middle of a pandemic, scaring the witnesses to death, coming on wearing, it's got to be at least looks like a $500 Italian suit to me. It looks really good. So, these guys are still living high off the hog on your expense, Well, anyways, you're on JW World News. And of course, that's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. But we talk about it here every Saturday night. And I think it's important. I think it's important that we tell you all these things. Now, I just wanted to reiterate, is Jehovah shunning his servants now? 17,000 people died, Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, is Jehovah really with them? When I was a witness, I remember going to the Kingdom Hall. And of course, many brothers and sisters would make comments on how Jehovah blessed them. I remember one sister, as a matter of fact, the convention was coming up, and she was it was in the middle of the winter, and her young teenage daughter was going to get baptized. But, she couldn't find a bathing suit. So, she looked in this store, that store, and all the stores. She could not find a bathing suit. And lo and behold, she went into one store, and there was the bathing suit in the middle of winter. And I can remember her making a comment at the Kingdom Hall, what a blessing from Jehovah. So Jehovah helped her find a bathing suit. And then I can even remember pioneers. They would get $50 they'd need for their car. And sometimes it would just come out of the blue. Well, I got my $50. They'd make a comment at the conventions. I got that $50. Someone sent it to me just after I prayed to Jehovah. So, all these people praying and getting their bathing suit, getting their $50 for the tires for their car so they can continue to pioneer. Well, where was Jehovah, the God of the Watchtower, when 17,000 people died around the world from coronavirus? I want you to think about this. Think about it. It's just something that's very, very, well, it's hard to really wrap your head around it, right? So Jehovah's Witnesses, they're going to take advantage of this worldwide pandemic, but Jehovah doesn't seem to be on their side. He really, really doesn't. Well, anyways, you're on JW World News. If anyone wants to speak up and say something, all you have to do is hit *6 on your telephone pad. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about a Kingdom Hall having a vaccination event coming this Wednesday? How do you feel about that? Well, how do you feel about 17,000 Jehovah's Witnesses dying? If you'd like to weigh in with us, all you have to do is hit *6 on your telephone pad. If not, we're going to move on to our next story.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, this is Thomas Hawkins, Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah, I think that's going to be really quite a good method for the Jehovah's Witnesses, try to recruit more members. It's all about that money. I think they wouldn't even think about doing it once for the money they could make off of it from FEMA possibly, and also a chance to try to recruit people in. people that are vulnerable at this time of year.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking, Thomas. They're going to take advantage of everything. They need members. They are hemorrhaging. So many people are leaving the Watchtower. They're going to take advantage of everything they can. They got to pump the numbers up because more and more people leave. It doesn't look good. So they're saying, hey, let's try some new ways of recruiting people. I believe that's what they're doing. Yes. Thank you, Thomas. Well, there you have it. There you have it. That's Thomas out of Lawrence, Kansas. So, I hear all these disturbing news stories. I sometimes it's hard to even capture all this negativity when I read news stories about the Jehovah's Witnesses. And man, I'm going to tell you, for example, in France, I don't know if you caught this story, but here we go, another problem with pedophilia. How many countries? Man, there is a bunch of them that are really coming down now on the Jehovah's Witnesses. And how about this one I picked up this week from France? It's all about a young Jehovah's Witness woman. When she was younger, she now filed incest charges against the Jehovah's Witness. Yes, incest charges against the Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, just to give you an idea, there are about 130 Jehovah's Witnesses in France. And this was published this week, actually on, it would have been just today. Just today it was published. And it's concerning an investigation that was opened up following the complaint of a girl named Helene. And she's claiming that she has been raped for 13 years by her father. She accuses the Jehovah's Witness community of covering these acts up. Friends, this is not the first time we heard this, covering these acts up. Now, a preliminary investigation was opened in Lorient, France, after a complaint from a member of Jehovah's Witnesses who accuses her father of having raped her when she was a child, and her community, that is the community of Jehovah's Witnesses, having covered up. The investigation is in progress. Now, according to the source close to the investigation, the parents, both parents, the mother and the father, were taken into police custody on May 3rd, and then they were released. But revelations to these are now coming forward. The 30-something-year-old girl, now married with 3 children, says she was raped and sexually assaulted by her father between 1995 and 2008. She was 8 years old to 21. The father had sexual intercourse with her from 8 to 21, according to her complaint. She indicates that her father would have forced her to have anal penetrations as soon as he could. Now, that is despicable. But this goes on. The Jehovah's Witness Watchtower organization is a very esoteric, secret society where they allow pedophilia and all types of sexual perversion. Now, her complaint, she complains against her mother, allegedly, repeatedly asked her to sleep with the father. Can you imagine that? What mother in their right mind would say to their daughter, I'm asking you to sleep with your father? And she complained of her father's abuse, but the complaint went nowhere. She went to the Jehovah's Witness organization, the Kingdom Hall Elders in Lorient, France. They had a judicial committee, and according to Helene, the elders couldn't really do too much because it wasn't, you guessed it, 2 witnesses. How sick is that? What a sick organization. This situation pains anyone listening to it, even me, because the victim is telling the truth, and the Jehovah's Witness organization is not reacting to her situation. Now, they did contact, the media did contact in France, the Bethel headquarters, and according to a source talking with the ministers at Bethel in France, they said that, these matters are brought up and it's held in the congregation, and it's brought up that it's dealt with in a way that should be the way it's dealt with. Well, that is not true. It really, really isn't. But I'll tell you, I got thinking today, and I got thinking all this week, how many sexual predators are there in the Jehovah's Witnesses? Now, I know we talk about it every week here on JW World News. I know you hear it online, you read it in the paper. You guys are online. I know sometimes I'm preaching to the choir here. But, you got to go. It's very hard. I remember years ago when we first started our Six Screens radio programs, we had Bill Bowen. And, of course, he's the one that coined the term pedophile paradise. And at first I thought that was an exaggeration. That was kind of embellishing it somewhat. Friends, it's not embellished enough. There are so many sexual perverts in this organization. It's really, really hard to even begin to think how many there were. But, some people have made efforts to try to come up with some type of understanding of how many there would be. So, just using the ARC, that is the Australia Royal Commission statistics. Let's go with that. Let's try to project here how many Jehovah's Witnesses are pedophiles. Well, let's take a look. So we're using the Australia Royal Commission, as I say, for the statistics. Now, in that report, there were 1,006 perpetrators. Yes, 1,006 perpetrators, that is sexual perverts in the Watchtower in Australia. And then there were 1,800 survivors. So these 1,006 pedophiles, perpetrators, they actually brought reproach upon Jehovah's name, if you want to be honest about it. But they also brought about 1,800 survivors having experienced sexual perversion. So 1,800. Now, let's take a look here now. If we use those figures, and that's the only thing we can go by, but the Watchtower is not going to tell us exactly how many pedophiles they have. But just judging here, in France, there are 131,754 Jehovah's Witnesses in France. So breaking this all down and doing it and running the numbers on this, there would be at least 3,430 Jehovah's Witness survivors. That'd be close to 3,500 Jehovah's Witnesses that have been abused, and at least 1,917 pedophiles. That's just in France. But I know that these figures are even low. Friends, up here where I live in Massachusetts, I'm telling you, I know so many people that are pedophiles and have been pedophiles for years in the organization. Now, I want you to stop and just think. You just stop and put your thinking cap on. I want you to just be able to think of what's being said here. Now, a lot of these pedophiles are never reported. Maybe you're listening in here tonight, and maybe you were abused sexually in the Watchtower when you were a young child. And, you haven't come forward. Some people just don't want to. So I'm trying to bring this all into perspective. If you look at real life estimates, which I went to and found some information on this, only 10 to 25% of survivors of abuse even report it. So that could make the Watchtower, any of these organizations, their disclosure reports. That's why the Watchtower is not coming forward and giving their information. It's probably like 3 or 4 times what's being reported. So this is a dangerous, destructive cult. And then another thing, too. I'm going to bring this up tonight. My friend Dan Clark, well, he sent me a video. And the video had to do with this young man. I'd say he's in his 30s. He's not a Jehovah's Witness. But he is doing a video on Hollywood and what's going on in Hollywood and how many pedophiles there are. And he's trying to do a film, I should say. He's trying to produce a film exposing all the pedophilia and the sexual perversion in the Hollywood swamp. And let me tell you something. All of these big organizations, look at even Bill Gates. Now, I'm not accusing Bill Gates of anything here, but all of a sudden this week in the news, you heard last week he's getting divorced from his wife, Linda. And then now you also hear this week that he was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, a big time known for real pedophile, probably one of the worst that ever lived, involved in all kinds of sex perversion trafficking. So we're seeing all of these big wigs, big Hollywood people, organizations, institutions, religions, Watchtower. Boy, they're all in the same boat together. Well, poor Helene, she's now 30-something. She's married. She has 3 children. And we hope the best for her. And we hope that she can move on and try to flush some of this terrible stuff that happened to her out of her mind. Well, I tell you, isn't that sick? I mean, is that a sick story? I hate to even report stuff like that. But
Hey, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, it's Dan. How you doing?
Good, Dan.
Good. I just wanted to chime in about your story. There's another story coming on like that tonight. It'll leave you speechless. This stuff is rampant in there. And the reason it's rampant is because when you take people with normal, natural sexual desire and you tell them they're heathens, and I was one, that they told were taking away your privileges because I went to the elders and said, I'm stumbling, I'm falling back a little bit. They took away all my privileges, stripped me away. Well, what do? You do just like the Catholic Church. You go into hiding. You go into adult bookstores. You do all this stuff. Well, I'm not doing it. I'm just going to the bookstore. This is what you're doing inside this organization. And this is why they're creating so many perverts and so many pedophiles. Because you've got this normal desire that's awakening at adolescence, as it should, become fruitful, become many, and fill the earth, and they suppress it. What happens when you suppress it, Rick? What happened in the Catholic Church? We used to talk about it all the time in the witnesses. All those pervert Catholics, all those guys that can't get married. It's the same thing in the organization, Rick, and that's why they've got to get rid of these halls. They cannot go back to business as normal. This is a wormhole that's going to get so huge. When you hear the story tonight of this lady that's coming on, Sharon, it'll break your heart. It's going to leave you speechless. What happened to her daughter that wasn't spoken about until her daughter died? Told her mom on her deathbed. What happened in the family? Horrible, Rick. It's horrible. This is what the fruit is of Watchtower. This is the fruit. So anyway, Rick, I just wanted to chime in. Good show coming up tonight at 7:30, and you're right on the money, Rick. It's what it is. We can't say it isn't bad. It's full of it.
Wow, we're looking forward to your program, Dan. Thank you. I really appreciate you calling. Yes, go ahead.
Steve.
Yes, Steve.
Yeah, I understand the perversion. I understand the people being as witnesses being deprived, but I don't care a normal person, no matter how sex deprived they are, it's not going to turn them into a pedophile. They may get a girlfriend, they may find other ways to do it, but they're not a normal person. Absolutely, positively, is not going to turn into a pedophile just because they're not having sex.
Well, I mean, that's
Not how it works.
yeah, I'm not sure how it works, and I never did studies on it, but would you say that if a person has been deprived sex or somehow has been told that it's dirty, that they might have kind of like wanted to look into it somewhat, or maybe even be like a voyeur or have visions, go to pornography and other things?
That they may do, yes, but it doesn't turn you into a pedophile. Just like it's not going to turn you into a rapist unless you have those issues to begin with.
Do you think, I mean, just maybe you can share this with us, but if a person is sexually deprived, I don't know, I haven't done the research, so I can't tell you, but if a person is sexually deprived and, they can't find a mate, so they're going to turn to pornography or maybe even look at kiddie porn or start being a voyeur, Do you think that could lead?
They may turn to porn. They may do those things, but they actually be attracted to a child. No, that's a disorder that person would have regardless of where they're at. Because the pedophilia rate, the turnaround pedophilia rate, is a 99.9% failure rate. So if a straight person or if the person is driven to pedophilia because of lack of sex, then to say with an adult partner, then that's saying that if they're deprived of it, and then once they get an adult partner, then the pedophilia will stop. It absolutely will not stop. That's why you have so many witnesses in this organization that are married, elders, and everything else that are pedophiles.
All right, well, no, that sounds logical. But then on the other hand, on your way of reasoning, you would say that a person is born a pedophile.
Yes.
All right, so
yes. Or something. Well, okay. Okay. Fine. No, it's not necessarily born a pedophile. If they were molested, yes, then they weren't born that way, but they were molested themselves. But
And I'd like to say that
they were that way.
Yeah, I agree. But I want to say this. I do want to say that telling a person they're evil because they masturbate, to go to an elder and
Well,
say, put it
I'm not talking about it. I understand.
I know, but I'm saying it leads to perversion. And I'll tell you why. Because you do go to porn. You do go into hiding. And porn is more perverted as you look at porn. You don't just look at men with women, then you look at women with women, then you look at it grows. Porn.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of people.
I'm just saying, it's perversion instead of pedophilia, but I'm just saying, who's to say where
even the worldly people that I know, if you were to say that you were attracted to children, you'd lose a lot of friends. Right, immediately. Right. So it's not normal. If you research or do anything with pedophilia, pedophiles, there is almost a zero recovery rate, and they're offered, the ones that are in prison are offered the opportunity to get out if they will take a course, and the vast majority, almost 100%, refuse to take the course for rehab for pedophilia. So if they don't want to, and it's an extremely high
That's unbelievable. That's crazy.
So
I know.
So I mean, everybody that I know that's a witness or has been a witness, they've gone out, maybe committed fornication, whether it be with a girlfriend or a straight prostitute, anything, but they're definitely never attracted to children. No, so that's a separate disorder.
Yeah, I mean,
so because I know lots of witnesses that are married.
I guess we got a woman. You want to come on?
Stopping them from pedophilia.
Go ahead, Connie. Come on into the conversation. See what you have to say.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. I was going to say, we studied this at the university, and it was very interesting. It was my abnormal psychology class, and the issue of pedophilia came up. And like I said before on the show, it's learned behavior. What that really means is, a parent doesn't automatically just think, I think I'll start having sex with my child or my nephew or my niece or whatever. A lot of times it's parents with their own children. Or even stepfathers. There are a few women pedophiles, but most of them are males. It's learned behavior, which means, Grandpa had this in his dark past, and then he passed it down through the generation to his son or sons. Like, for example, I'll give you a perfect example. There's a gal that I worked with, and her name is Adrian. And anyway, her father was a pedophile. And she was molested by him, her own biological father, not a stepfather. But she was molested by him from the age of 3 until she was 10 years of age. And she was telling me this as if she just brought it up like as if she was talking about the weather. And I remember we were taking a walk, we were taking a break, and I stopped and I said, Adrian, what'd you just tell me? And, she says, oh, yeah, well, my father molested me from the time I was 3 until I was 10. And I said, oh, my gosh, you're so open about this. And she said, oh, yeah, I've gone through extensive therapy. And I said, well, it's very interesting that you bring this up because, the older I get, the more I come across people who were sexually abused by, family members. But anyway, I said to her, Adrian, I said, now, this was not your stepfather. This was your biological father, right? She said, oh, yeah. And I said, honey, that's learned behavior. I said, where did your father learn that? She says, oh, yeah, you're right on. She said, he learned it from his brother. I said, oh, so your uncle, right? She said, yes. And I said, did your uncle, and was he married? And she said, yes. I said, did they have kids? Yes. I said, were they sexually abused? Yes. She said, those are my cousins. And I said, it's all learned behavior. And she said, yeah. She said, I'm telling you, it really screwed me up big time. She said, I had to go through years of therapy. And she said, I ended up becoming a sex addict because of it. And she says, I was married and I was going out having all these affairs and, I didn't know what was going on. Then I finally went to a counselor and they said, no, we need to sit down and talk about your family dynamic. And what was interesting is that her mother covered it all up. Her mother knew. And I was very specific with Adrian. I said, honey, could you tell me, when did this happen? She said, it'd be at nighttime when I'd be in bed. And she said, my dad would, open up the door and come in. And she said, I'd be under the covers just shaking like crazy. And I said, was your father ever prosecuted? She says, no, he committed suicide when I was 10. I said, good. At least he can't hurt anybody else. So it's learned behavior.
Well,
It's something that really hit very home to me because my Mark was sexually abused, and so was his brother David by their own biological fathers. So it's a very interesting topic that you bring up today, Rick.
Well, no, well, thank you, Constance. No, that I like you thought. I never heard that before. Learned behavior. I learned something here tonight. So right, Dan, he's got, really, we are so flabbergasted with witnesses and what they get away with. But we're all right. We're all right here. It's a terrible practice, but this idea of being learned behavior, in other words, what you're saying, according to your studies, is a person becomes a pedophile because they learned it from another pedophile. Well, I guess that's what she means.
Yes.
All right. Very good. That's good. Thank you.
And one last thing, like that brother said, it's extremely, not just a little bit, it is extremely difficult to break that. Very few of them can be rehabilitated. I mean, they've even done studies, Rick, where they tried to castrate the men in Germany, and it had some success. But for the most part, if you had 1,000 pedophiles, I'm just giving this as an example. If you had 1,000 pedophiles, 998 of them could never be rehabilitated.
Wow.
So it's a real serious problem.
Well, you mentioned another thing there too that got my attention. In other words, you said people who have been molested, like the friend you brought up, some of these people become sex addicts.
Yeah, she was. She was married and she was going out having all these affairs and she didn't know what the heck was going on. Like, she thought, oh well, it's fine. And then when she sat down with the counselor had to say, whoa, Adrian, what's going on here? This is not normal. And she had no clue, Rick. She had no clue, why the therapist was saying, I think it was a therapist from San Diego University. And she said, Adrian, we really need to look at the dynamics between your mother and your father, each of your parents. And she said, really? What's that have to do with anything? Because Adrian was suicidal. She says, oh, it has a lot. She says, we'll take it session by session. So it's very interesting.
Well, thank you, Constance, for sharing that with us tonight. We're learning. We're all learning together. But all I know is there is more perversion in the Watchtower than we even understand. And of course, even more than any other religion, because this is Jehovah's religion. If you report it, you bring reproach upon Jehovah. In fact, Dick Borgie up here, he had a congregation where there were, I believe he said 5 pedophiles in the congregation. I've had in my congregation too. I actually even had a Jehovah's Witness pedophile working for me at one point. I didn't know it. I mean, how do you really know if a person's a pedophile? But it's absolutely crazy. Thank you for sharing, Constance.
Rick?
Yes, Randy.
Yeah, I just want to say I don't pretend to be any kind of expert on it at all, but I would like to say this. Everybody would have to agree that all these studies they've done on pedophiles probably did not include a study specifically of Jehovah's Witnesses and the kind of conditions that they have to go through. And I've given a lot of thought to this, and I'm not going to say this for every single case because I think you can just label a name pedophile like cancer for one thing, for example, and it could be really thousands of different types. And I think it could be the kind of similar thing with pedophiles, because I know of one example, and I can't say this is repeated, but a person a man in his 20s raped a little 5-year-old girl. And this did not come out until later. She's 40-something years old, and then she's telling about it. That's how I learned about it. After really thinking about it, because I knew these people very well, what I concluded was, hey, this guy in his early 20s when he did it, he knew he would get in trouble for having an affair with a woman, a grown woman, whether it's a Jehovah's Witness or a non-Jehovah's Witness. But yet I think he figured he could hide it if it's a little 5-year-old girl. Nobody would tell, or nobody would believe her, because that's what happened. When she told what happened, even her grandma says, "Oh, you're crazy. That brother wouldn't do that to you." And so I think that and then if it does, that 2-witness rule pops up, and they don't want to report it because they don't want to bring a reproach. And so my way of thinking is, for some people, it was a way for them to have sex with another person without getting caught or getting in trouble, because there's always that 2-witness rule they can fall back on. And so not somebody else coming and confessing like an adult. So the one that I know, he as long as I've known him, he never mentioned anything about wanting sex toward a child, but always it was a wife. He wanted to have a wife that he'd come home to after work and all this, and he didn't have one for many, many years. After I learned this story, I was shocked, because by this time he already had, when I learned it, he already had a teenage son and everything. That's how many years has went by. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Is I think a lot of it might be because of the trouble they get into if they go about a normal way. But the other thing is, I also think about the subliminal embedding that they put in their artwork. How that's got to do something to the person's chemistry in their mind, sexually. And I don't know why they do it. I mean, why they can't say they would do it for every single case, but I think that's why they do the subliminal. It's a form of hypnotism and getting control, and it's just degrading and horrible that they would do that. And that's all I had to say.
Well, no, that you said a lot, and we really appreciate you chiming in. In fact, that's a different perspective, and listen. We all have perspectives. We all have our feelings on this. This is a big rabbit hole, and I am so glad that we have so many countries now coming against the Watchtower. We have got the Netherlands. We have got Canada. We've got the UK. We've got Russia. We now have France. We've got Germany. All of these countries we have, and even right here, many states are starting to put the clamper down. Articles appearing in the newspaper. People, I don't get it. I do not get it. How is it that Jehovah's Witnesses can hear about all of this? They're seeing it. They're hearing it. It's all over television. How is it that they can just be so oblivious and it goes right over their heads? Well, wait a minute. It's not going over everyone's heads. People are beginning to scratch their heads. We're getting more and more people listening in here to the 6 screens. It's amazing to me. And these are people that are leaving the Watchtower. And if you're listening in here tonight, Don't think they were a bunch of mad, embellishing, irate apostates making this stuff up. It's all out there. Just check the Australian Royal Commission. Check France. If you don't think that story's true, and I brought to you tonight, put France incestuous relationship Jehovah's Witnesses. It'll pop up. You guys know how to search. Google. Google is the biggest enemy right now that the Watchtower has. Well, I just want to make a comment here tonight. If people are trying to get into a 6-screen video suite, I'm not sure. They are evidently doing more updates, but friends, we're going to be looking at perhaps changing that. I've been disappointed too many times. I pay good money, too, to have that 6-screen video suite. And, you know, I can never count on it. So we'll be back on again with it next week, and maybe even later on tonight. Keep checking in. But we're looking at other conference suites to go into. This one's really not working for me. It's called Pure Leverage. It's not a good one, friends. It's really not. I'm looking to make a change. So anyways, you're listening on the telephone line. We appreciate all those coming in, plus those coming in on YouTube and on our Facebook Live. So it's all good. We're having a good time here. We always do on a Saturday night. I think it's fascinating. I mean, I'm enjoying the program myself. You know, we started 16 years ago, but we didn't have people coming in like this and talking. We talked to a few people. I didn't even know if anybody was listening, but it's gaining momentum, and I want you to do this for me. You know, share it. When you get the 6 Screens Facebook up and you're watching it live, share it with someone. Do that for me. That would really be great. And let other people know there's a live forum. You know, this isn't like a regular YouTube where you can go in and comment after it's already done. We don't do any editing here. This is the raw deal. This is unadulterated real. I mean, we're in real time. Same thing with Facebook. There's no editing. There's no making things look better than it is. What you see is what you get. That's why we're different, and we appreciate you guys listening in. So let's take a look here. We got, will Jehovah's Witnesses go back to normal activities? Well, if you're a witness, you got to really be thinking about this, right? Many countries, many states, many towns and cities all across the world are now saying, hey, take your mask off. Come on back in. You're on the road to recovery. You can somewhat return to normalcy. Restaurants are opening up. I see out in Pennsylvania, parts of Pennsylvania, movie theaters are opening up. You don't even have to wear a mask. Churches are opening up. You know, but where do the witnesses fit in here? Why aren't they saying anything about, you know, wanting to go back to the meetings? In fact, the only thing I'm hearing is perhaps in 2022 they may return, but it's even a May. Nobody knows for sure. And like I said, in Pennsylvania, it's 50% of the people have been vaccinated. The businesses are now dropping their mask requirements, and many states are doing the same thing. But what's going on? You have to, you know, I think I know. I think I know what's going on with the witnesses. Like I said earlier, we played that video of Mark Sanderson, governing body member, and he's saying about 17,000 people have died from coronavirus. This is scaring the witnesses. They keep making a bigger deal about this than they should. Fear is an important thing in the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses. So they're frightening the people. Don't do anything. We're not going to go back to the meeting. Jehovah is protecting you. And did you hear in that video? Isn't it they were saying how Jehovah is protecting their organization? Well, right now, I'm sure many people are wondering when Jehovah's Witnesses is going back to meetings. Well, I'm feeling that the governing body is waiting for the accountants to see if they can make more money without opening the kingdom halls. I think that's the real reason. I think it's a money issue. And I've always known it. You guys know it too. The Watchtower is a business. Jehovah's Witnesses are just volunteer workers who turn and crank the money machine. That's right, the money machine. Kingdom halls, assembly halls, regional conventions for the past years have been near zero. There's no conventions. It's only online on Zoom. So, you know, they don't have to worry about renting assembly halls. I mean, they own the assembly halls, but they don't have to worry about renting arenas, stadiums. The kingdom halls are not being used. So I'm sure the electric bill and all the expenses are down somewhat. So, they're making out like a bandit still because the Watchtower is still receiving money, donations, and nobody's even meeting in the kingdom hall. So these guys, I'll tell you, they know how to do it. They know how to do it, and they're doing it. Right now, I believe they're taking in more money. You can't believe, because the witnesses, for the most part, they'll give money. They'll give money right over their website. Oh boy, let's give it to Jehovah. So, stop. I want you to stop and think about this, just from a money aspect. But let's just run some numbers here. Now, you guys know, and you're witnesses. I was a witness for close to 50 years of my life. So you go to the weekly meeting, say like on a Thursday night. So that's a couple hours. And then you go to the Sunday meeting. So that's another couple hours. So that's 4 hours a week. Plus they open it up for, say, weddings and funerals and even service meetings. You meet there for service. So let's just say, I'm just going to use a number, 8 to 10 hours a month. Really, that's the only time a kingdom hall is used. They don't use it to, help people coming in. Nobody's even there during the week. So they only use it 8 to 10 hours a week. And, I'm sure that the accountants at the Watchtower are saying, do we really need it? Look at this. We're still making money on Zoom. Why do we have to even open this up? Let's sell these kingdom halls off. Why even worry about electric bills and worry about utility bills, water, maintenance, snow plowing, lawn cutting? Get rid of it. We'll make more money without opening. So they're already mass closing. I mean, hundreds of kingdom halls all around the world. And so I'm just thinking from a pure accounting standpoint that, there's no monetary advantage to keeping kingdom halls open. So let's just see. So we got someone trying to call me here on Facebook. Let's see who that can be. Victor, I can't. You can't call in on Facebook. You have to call in on the regular line, not your Facebook line. So we'll see what happens. We got a man coming on pretty soon here around 8:45, and he's going to tell us his story. He's a witness. He's a former witness, so he's been out for a while now, but he wants to tell us his story. So we're looking forward to that. He'll be on in about a half hour or so. So let's see what else we got going on here. I'll tell you what, friends, we are like a clearinghouse here for the news. All during the program, people send me information. Rick, talk about this, talk about that. We can't talk about everything, but we'll do the best every time we come on our program. Let's take a look here. Let's see what else is going on behind the curtains. Okay, the JW Media Center. Oh my goodness, this giant complex, $150 million complex, the Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, it looks like they're going to go forward with this. It's a major, they're calling it the headquarters for a major audio and video studio. It's huge. We're going to talk a little bit about the size and what they're doing with it. And there's a hearing coming up this week, May 26th, I believe it is, in New York. They're going to have a hearing. If anyone is opposing their building this site, well, I mean, that would be the time to speak up and talk. I want to play a video. I want to play a video. I think you'll find it really fascinating. And this is a video. This is one of the town managers up in that area. And he's kind of commending the witnesses for building the site. I want you to listen in, see what you think. I want you to hear it. If you're on the Facebook, let's put it up so you can see it on Facebook. I want you to see it. He's like a town commissioner or a county official, and he's praising the Watchtower for building this media center. Let's hear what he has to say, and then we can discuss it. He's up here next. Let's hear. Oop, for some reason, hold on. Let's go back. We had the volume off. Let's put the volume on.
The site, 242 acres, that Jehovah's Witnesses will be developing with a studio a conference center, and of course, dorms for their workers. Jehovah's Witnesses have their international headquarters just about 1.5 miles away from here. Now, we would prefer that this land always remain in reserve, but that's not the case. If someone had to buy it, we're glad that it was the Jehovah's Witnesses, because they're going to be very, very good neighbors.
Well, wait a minute, Mr. County official. Oh, hold on. You're saying you're glad the Jehovah's Witnesses are buying this acreage? Well, they're not going to pay any taxes. They're not going to pay any property tax. They're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, Mr. Commissioner. And you're glad they're buying it? Don't you think that the surrounding communities would benefit more from someone that would be paying real estate tax? Let's listen in to see what the commissioner says.
This area is home to many different types of wildlife. Anytime we disrupt an area like this, we're always concerned about what it does to the environment. We're concerned about the ecology. We're concerned how wildlife is affected. And of course, they're going to have about 1,000 people, workers, living in the dormitories, which means additional traffic on this road. This road in the morning and in the evening at rush hour is jam-packed with cars. And right through here, this is really a secondary road. They will be going through a housing development and, of course, going on to Route 17, where a new development of 340 apartments are being built, which will add to the traffic on Route 17. So always concerned about the traffic because it affects the quality of life. But Jehovah's Witnesses, they get about 1,000 visitors every day. They do go to the local businesses, and that's a good thing. And they're very nice, wonderful people. So if it has to be developed, we would prefer Jehovah's Witnesses. Of course, the main thing is we'd like to keep it in reserve because this is a semi-rural, rustic area.
Well, wait a minute, Mr. Commissioner. Wait 1 minute now. You love the Jehovah's Witnesses. I bet you didn't do any research on them at all. I don't know if you've been paid off, if these guys, give you the green handshake or something. I mean, did you do any research? These guys are pedophiles. They are building a studio, Mr. Commissioner, that is trying to lure people into their organization. And these people, many of them are pedophiles. So, I'm going to have to hold you accountable. I wish you would have done your homework. I don't know what you're really looking for here. Did you check them out? Did you Google Jehovah's Witnesses and child molestation? Well, if you did, I think you'd have second thoughts. I'd love to go up there. I haven't ruled it out. I'm really thinking, I'm not sure, but maybe I can. I don't know, but I'd love to go up there with some big banners and let the people in that community know Jehovah's Witnesses are hiding pedophiles. Don't let them build this. Really, don't let them build it. Yes.
Yeah, along with that, they don't spend any money in the community. When we were doing our book, when we were writing our book, Eyewitness, the guy in New York City says, we can't stand them. He said they're living here tax-free. They eat and do everything within their own compounds. They get paid, $19 a month or something crazy. So they're not out spending money in the city and going to the local stores. This guy has no idea. They're going to be out there in a compound in the middle of nowhere doing God knows whatever.
Yeah, in fact, just to give us some stats on that, it's a 1.7 million square foot project. And friends, that's a big building. 1.7 million square foot. That's not some shack in the middle of the woods. That's a major complex. Yes.
Could I chime in one more
Sure,
time?
absolutely. Yeah.
We live here in Boise, and they build these big, monstrous Mormon temples. They're bigger than the Capitol building. These things are huge. In fact, we took a tour through them. We were working for a Mormon, so they took a tour through it. And they were laced with gold, and it was like crazy, imported marble. And I started asking people. They got 2 temples here in Boise, and from here all the way to Vegas, on both sides of the road, there's a temple every so many miles, as big as like Disney. What in the heck are these? I looked out one day and thought, what are these? Well, I started asking around, and you know what they said it was, why they were doing it? Now, this would be considered somebody who wasn't for the Mormon Church, but they said it's real estate. It's real estate. They own real estate. So why wouldn't they build a big-ass compound, multi-million dollars? They're going to have it paid in full. They're going to get the brothers to all contribute, say this is the new way we got to do business. We can't open the halls. We got too many hall crashes. We got too much exposure, really. But the fact of the matter is, Rick, it is big. It's real estate, and it's worth a fortune. And in that area, it's worth a fortune. So if the witnesses go sideways, there's another big, huge, multi-million-dollar investment that has appeal. It's on the lake. It's in a beautiful area. So it would appeal to anybody. So it's really not a dumb move when you think that these are financiers, that these are, real estate investors. I mean, it's a smart move for them. That's it, Rick.
Well, no, good thoughts on that, Dan. Really, there's no getting around it. This is a major, major complex. And Jehovah's Witnesses, they've got to be concerned about this. It's not going to be finished till 2026. So you say, what are Jehovah's Witnesses thinking? Now, this headquarters, they're calling it the headquarters for audio and video production. But let's put it this way. It's 1.7 million square foot project. And it's in the Sterling. I've been to that site. I know exactly where it's going. The land also has been contaminated by nickel mining. There was a lot of nickel mining going on there, years ago, and a lot of the strip mines have been left kind of looking terrible. But contamination has been found in the land. That's how they probably got it so reasonable, from what I can gather. But anyways, this organization is going to cost $150 million, and the facility is going to include offices, maintenance, set production workshop, hot water plant using geothermal heat energy. There's going to be accommodations for a staff of 645 residents, and can you imagine that? My goodness, all those people. Do they need that many people?
Rick, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
Hi, Rick, it's Matt. How are you?
Doing good, Matt. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm feeling a little bit better. But I was just wanted to make a comment on the jolly chap that was giving the Watchtower the thumbs up for the development there. Boy, he's a good guy, isn't he, Rick?
Well, I don't think he really understands the witnesses, Matt. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the county there, but do you think that maybe if they've got financial problems, someone like him might not be helping them? Like if you let a multi-billion-dollar corporation come in and they want to rezone things and they don't pay you any tax and they don't pay you for anything that they're doing, and plus they've got, you seem to be happy about it, 1,000 people coming in, was it a day or a week? So they're tearing up all the roads and they don't have to pay for them. Maybe that's why they're in financial troubles. Like, I don't know, Rick, but he seems pretty happy about it.
Well, he's probably pretty.
Maybe we need to have a talk to him.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think, but it's only my thought. It's only my opinion. I'm not saying this, but I believe this man is getting paid off. Hey, listen. There's plenty.
Really?
Yes, there are plenty of county commissioners and building inspectors and people that can kind of make life difficult for you. A little green handshake here or the way goes a long way, believe me. Really. So I'm just thinking,
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is crazy. But the thing is, Matt, the Watchtower is really going out on a hook here. I think that this is a do or die project. This had better work for them, but I can't imagine they're going to need 645 rooms plus another facility down the street with 300 and something rooms. They're talking here of having 1,500 people working in this media center producing videos. Now, I checked out the Walt Disney Studios in California, And from what I read out there, I asked, how many people work at the Disney studios? There was like 1,500. Now, so Watchtower is going to be as big as the Disney studios. Something doesn't pass the smell test here. So this is not the media center that they're claiming to have this magnificent structure all about. This has to do with homes for the mucky mucks. I'm reading about underground.
Okay, right.
Yeah, this has to do with more homes for the mucky mucks, and they're trying to get tax relief. Generally, if you build houses and homes for retired people, you have to pay tax on that. But you're going to get tax relief because you're a media center. Wait a minute. We're Jehovah's Witness Studios. We produce films that are helping families all around the world. Yeah.
It's true, isn't it, Rick? And also, I remember, and I'm sure you're more aware of it than me, but when they first bought that property, I think it was 2011, I think, when they first bought it. And then they bought the other property, and an activist actually exposed what they had bought. They actually claimed that this site, that they were actually going to probably sell it. Can you remember? Like, it was sort of like, we bought it, but we don't know whether Jehovah's going to bless us, so we're not saying we're ever going to use it, okay? They did that sort of routine, and that was the same time that they were definitely not selling anything in New York. That was just apostates telling lies about it. And about the Walt Disney thing is, I have a theory, this is my theory, is that they actually will start outsourcing their stuff. Like, set another company up, get the witnesses to pay for all of this top line, best production, all the rest of it, and then start maybe selling off these, or not selling off, like they're producing other things for other people. Because there's no way, Rick, that they'll stay afloat financially other than getting other streams of income in. So, I mean, if they're claiming that all of their material online is going to be free, you can't, I mean, what was the figure, 150 million to build, then you're going to have to keep the equipment relevant. So that every few years you're going to have to just be upgrading everything. That's just the way it works in that space. And you're going to be giving it away for free. That's impossible. So I sort of smell around. I think that they'll end up establishing it with witness money, and then they'll spin it off somehow. And I think they will have their own, witness production companies doing stuff, and probably, if they're really lucky, they'll get the slave labour to do it. So I don't know how you feel about that, but in terms of the business model is absolutely impossible. You cannot have an organisation of that size without the money coming in. And if you're not charging a subscription, they're not going to survive. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, Rick, but that's what I think.
It does. It smells like a rat, like you say. It doesn't pass the smell test. Now, they bought this particular land. It's on a road called Sterling Road. I've been up there. I was up there in 2014, and that's when they were building the main headquarters in Warwick. It's right down the road, about 1.5 miles.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so they bought this land, this building, and I visited. It was like a staging area where they had a bunch of the people, construction workers, staying. But they bought this. It was an old silver refining plant. And they dug silver out of the ground and they refined it in this building. It was a good-sized building. But in 2009, the area where they're putting this movie studio, so to speak, is, they paid $11.5 million. But remember now, they got 249 acres. And, boy, that's a lot of land. And, it's a lot of land. And it's a beautiful area. It really, really is. A lot of wildlife. There's a lot of water around as well, lakes and rivers and what have you. So it's really a beautiful area of New York. But, as far as all I can see here, and I'm just thinking out loud, they have a recreational center they're building. They got swimming pools. They got workshops. They've got even their own hot water plant. In other words, from green energy. They're following Biden's instructions, I guess. So they have a visitors. Yeah. So they're going to have their own little energy factory there, so to speak. So, I mean, they're really putting a lot of effort into this, and they're going to have visitors come there. There's going to be up to 1,000 people a day that visit there. So, unbelievable what they're doing, but I can just see it. I mean, when I look at 645 residential units just there alone, plus they're building more, looks like down the street. But when I look at that many residential units, that's a lot of people. This is nothing more, and I even say the same thing about Warwick. It's nothing more than a retirement center. The Jehovah's Witnesses know they're cooked. They know the monkey died. They know the circus is over. They gotta make a home for themselves. Wouldn't you do that too, Matt? Hey.
I would. We should start up like an apostate old retirement home for ourselves.
Yes.
Freedom Lodge or something.
I'm with you all the way. Well, thank you, Matt.
The problem is, Rick. Problem is that. But when did you say they're finishing? Do you reckon they'll finish it before the end?
Well, no, they're going to finish in 2026. That's 5 years.
Oh.
5 years from now.
I thought the end was coming in 18 months.
Well, that's exactly right if you're a Jehovah's Witness. But you know what they're saying? That this is what many witnesses are saying. They're saying, well, Jehovah knows best, and he'll more than likely want to use this to educate the witnesses in the new world. No.
Right.
Jeez. Put that one in your pipe and smoke it. My God, I can't believe how naive the witnesses are. I really don't. But you know something, Matt? They're waking up. I sit here. Sometimes I lay in bed at night, and I just can't even understand how witnesses can have this zombie-like trance way about life. They got it. As many are starting to stop and think about all this foolishness. It's hitting the fan. It's hitting the fan. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. Who do we have calling in here? Thank you, Matt. Now, Matt, you're not coming on tonight because I wasn't sure you were coming on.
No worries.
All right. So I didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure if you're coming or not. So we do have Andrew and Dan. They're going to be coming in tonight. They got a great program. So they got a ex-witness woman they're going to be interviewing. That's a shocking story. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead. I believe we got Montreal, Canada.
Hi, Rick.
Yes.
Yes, this is Jeff calling.
Oh, Jeff, I thought I recognized the voice. Absolutely. There you are, Jeff from Montreal. Good. Thank you.
Hey, welcome. Thank you for your show once again. It's very encouraging. And I just want to say that about this multimedia project that the Watchtower is making, if they believe that they are near Armageddon and that the time is close to an end, and I know what is their objective of actually building a mini multimedia center, if they believe the time is at the end. And what's going to happen if they go out of business and lose the funds that they have saved? You see, and then they start making all this money, selling Kingdom Halls, and just imagine if they continue to sell more Kingdom Halls and then continue to use it as a charitable status, then how are they going to worship the truth? See?
Well, absolutely. You're certainly not saying something that could not happen. It very well could happen. It very well could happen. I mean,
Right.
There's so many things that they're going to be doing. It's hard to even project. We don't know what's up their sleeve, but You know, also some people are suggesting that, you know, they have the world headquarters. Now they're building this new complex, which is even going to be more modern and more up to date. Some are thinking they're going to sell Warwick off already to somebody. Maybe they have a buyer already for that. They're nothing but a real estate company.
Hi, Rick.
Yeah, talking about that.
Okay,
Hi,
thank
Rick.
you. Yes, in fact, thank you for calling in. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
We have got, we got Roland coming in from the United Kingdom. Go ahead, Roland.
Hi, Rick. How are you? You all right?
Yes, thank you. What's going on?
Yeah, I was just listening in, and we have a massive project when I was a Jehovah's Witness down near London. They was putting in a new printing. They was spending thousands on new printing presses, and they spent thousands on a massive piece of land, thousands of acres, I believe. And it had been a car junkyard, and it got all that had been contaminated by the oil from the cars. And anyway, they had to pay for all that being cleaned up. They had to then build it from the ground up, and it was. I mean, it was gonna. That was. I think was supposed to house a few hundred, people, and residentially sort of thing. And anyway, they was telling us all about it. They showed us a film about the project and everything. And at the end, one of the elders actually said, "Now the brothers are worried about the cost, brothers and sisters, and they're finding it hard, and they need to know exactly what they've got to spend, because this is a massive project, but it has to be done, you know." So then they said, well, we're going to pass a piece of paper around the congregation, and you have to put down how much extra you think you can contribute each week in the box towards it. You don't have to put your name or anything, but just put how much, and then we can work out, the brothers can work out how much they've actually got to spend. And actually one of my friends who was a Jehovah's Witness at the time, she actually said to me, she said, why do they need a new building like that, a new printing presses, when Armageddon's just round the corner? And it was a good point. And then by that point, I was starting to get fed up with it anyway. I mean, I was female anyway, and I thought, well, even she's noticed that, and to me it seems mad, and it sounds the same where you are, it's the States there. I mean, it's just madness.
Well, it's all crazy. It's all crazy. But Roland, thank you for sharing that story with us, because, this is a worldwide problem. It's not just here in America. They're doing all kinds of shenanigans on building kingdom halls, assembly halls all over the world. So thank you for sharing that with us. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
All righty. Well, let's roll on the United Kingdom. Boy, I'll tell you, friends. In fact, I'll tell you, Roland sounds so good and clear. He's coming in on an app. Now, if you like to call in from all over the world, for the most part, you can do it on our app. It's free. It doesn't cost you a penny. And all you want to do is go to your Google store or go to iPhone's app store and punch in free conference call. Free conference call. You'll see the app pop up. Download the app. And boy, then when you get the app, you can dial the telephone number to come into our program. You can find it on our website, sixscreensofthewatchtower.com. And then you can use the initial login name, JW Talk. That's all you got to do. The login is JW Talk, and you can come in on your app from all over the world. So give that a chance, give it a try. I think you will like it. We have a lot of people now starting to use that app, and because some telephone calls won't let you call a conference call. So if you haven't had trouble, use JW. Well, JW Talk is our password, and the app you want to get is free conference call. Yes. All right. Well, my goodness. I just want to check. I want to see if we have Victor Hernandez. Are you on there with us, Victor? Hit *6 if you are. Victor Hernandez. Are you on with us, Victor? Well, we went through this today, and I'm wondering what's going on. Vic, you on with us? Hit *6. He's coming in from, well, we've been through it all week, and he had the instructions. Let me just make sure what's happening here. I call the number as I want, want an access code. Well, it doesn't. Hold on one second. Let me just send something off here to Victor. Hold on one second. Victor, let me just give him the number. If you're trying to call into the 6 screens, there's no access code, there's no PIN. If you're trying to call in, our telephone number, let me just get it here for you, is 727. Let me give it to Victor right now so we get him on the phone. 727 731 6701. No code needed. Let me put that in there. Code needed. He's coming in from the state of Washington, so let's see what happens. Okay, give it to him. All right, we're going to get Victor on. He's going to tell us he has problems. He's got some interesting things to tell us about concerning his trek in the Watchtower. So we're going to be bringing Vic on here very shortly. We're going to see if we can't get him on. We'll give him a little shout out here in a second or two and make sure he can come on. And then we get Dan and Angela Clark. Boy, Heart to Heart program coming up tonight. You don't want to miss it. They have got a woman coming on. She wants to tell you all about occultism. She wants to talk about this radio device. Program coming up tonight. You don't want to miss it. Well, we gotta block that one off. All right. So let's see what's happening here. All right. Let's take a look. Let's take a look till we get Victor on here. So we talked about the media center.
Hello.
Is that you, Vic?
Yes, that's me, that's sister.
All right. Well, you stay right there, Vic. I'll bring you on about give us about 5 or 10 minutes, okay?
Okay, yeah, I'll stand by.
All right, stand by. You're on with us. All right, that's Victor calling in from Washington, out there in Seattle. So we'll get him on. Yeah, he's got a story. He wants to share. He got a hold of us this week, and we've been getting a lot of people that want to share their story here on the 6 screens. I mean, if you're listening in tonight and you want to share your story, I can't always get you on my program, but we do have a number of programs. We get Dan and Angela with the Heart to Heart. We have Anne Marie with a Touch by the Tentacles of the Watchtower program. We have a Pasta Babe and Daniel with the Healing After the Watchtower. So I'm just going to mute you right now. I'm going to mute you right now, Victor, because your phone is open. So we're going to mute you, and when you're ready, we'll have you hit *6 and come on. But anyways, I wanted to say, if you guys have a story to tell and you want to get your story out, there's so many people that they just got to get it out, like Victor coming on here next. So why don't you do this? Write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com. Write me. And, if I can't get you on my program, Angela and Dan would love to have you on theirs, or Anne Marie, or a Pasta Babe. So let us know, and we'd be glad to get your story out so you can tell the world how you have been hurt, how you have been adversely affected by one of the most dangerous cults in the world, Jehovah's Witnesses. All right, now we're going to bring on, we got a man. He wants to tell his story. His name is Victor. I want you to listen. He is a sincere, straightforward man. We've talked on the phone. I like Victor's approach to the matter. He has some issues he wants to share with us. He had some things going wrong in the Watchtower for him, but he'll explain it all to you. I'll let him tell the story, not me. So Vic, hit *6. We're going to bring you on, okay? Victor, hit *6 on your telephone pad.
Hello, this is Victor.
Okay, Victor, there you are. You're coming in nice and loud, nice and clear. So what we want to do, Vic, and I want you to tell your story, but I'm going to kind of interview you, throw some questions out at you, and then near the tail end of the program, we're going to bring some of our listeners on, and they can talk to you. Okay?
Awesome.
All right. So we want to go. What I try to do here, I like to go back to the scene of the accident. And what that is when you first became one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Can you tell us about your first connection with the witnesses, Victor?
I was actually born and raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, what Jehovah's Witnesses always like to call, I am the second generation. My mother was born and raised to this day, over 64 years. And of course, my dad He was not born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness. He was actually born and raised as a very conservative Catholic. And then when about 1871, 1872, Jehovah's Witnesses approached my grandparents about this whole Armageddon coming in 1975. Either hurry up and convert to Jehovah's Witnesses or you're going to die. My grandmother was not interested, but my dad was interested. So long story short, he, up south in Arizona, he finally digged until he found the Kingdom Hall. And sure enough, he found them. He spoke to them and said, I heard about this Armageddon coming in 1875, and if I don't join your religion, I'm going to die. Please tell me more. So with the, Jehovah's Witnesses always love to love bomb them. They love bomb my dad and said, yes, Catholicism is not the truth. Truth is Jehovah, Jehovah's Organization, JW org, whatever they called it back then. And so sure enough, my dad started studying, and then sure enough, he met my mom not long after. And 1974 came along, it was December. My mom was 17, my dad was 20. And the brothers and sisters told them, my parents, that do not have children. We encourage you not have children because less than 1 year from now, by the time Tina, which is my mom, turns 18, that she's going to be in the new system, and all your children are going to be born into the new system.
So that's what you were told. That's what she was told.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I spoke to my mom many times over the years when I became a grown-up about this. And my mom said, yes, I do admit, Victor, that yes, the brothers and sisters made a mistake. That's why we use the scriptures in Proverbs, that the light keeps getting brighter. And I was like, Jehovah can't sin. Jehovah can't make a mistake. It's not Jehovah that made the mistake. It's the Watchtower organization mistake. And so then she gets very mad at me and she dismisses me very quickly.
Yeah, so there has been an ongoing back and forth, wishy-washy feeling on your mother's part. She would shun you, then she wouldn't shun you, then she would shun you, then she wouldn't shun you. I mean, this went on for years, right?
Yes, man. If you knew my mom and I, even before, I left the Watchtower's organization many years before I disassociated myself. And after I did disassociate myself in year 2012, I thought my mom was leaving the religion because she would pressure me at that time to leave. That she always used the phrase, "You'll feel better if you disassociate myself." And being raised in the religion all my life, I knew the consequences. If anyone gets disfellowshipped, if you're disassociated or not, you have to immediately be shunned, including your immediate family or relatives. And I didn't want that to happen. And my dad, who's been an elder for over 20 years, my dad used to tell me that, Victor, I'll continue to associate with you despite that you're not an active Jehovah's Witness. But if you ever get disfellowshipped or you decide to disassociate from yourself, I'm going to have to shun you. So I didn't want to lose that relationship with my dad.
No, you wouldn't want to, and you did, though, didn't you?
I sure did. Like I said, my mother was pressuring me at that time in year 2012, telling me, Victor, please just think about it. And I kept telling her, no, I want to have a relationship with you and my dad, and then the limited relative that speaks to me at that time. And so finally, after many months, I saw a message on Facebook, and I don't remember his name, from Switzerland. His name is Gore. I don't know if you use his name or not. But he private messaged me on Facebook, and he asked me two separate questions. What is your mother's name, and is she Jehovah's Witness? And I told him that my mom was born and raised in the religion. They have to call that in the truth. And yes, I gave her her name. And he informed me that she just very recently became Facebook friends with this person. And this person that she became Facebook friends with, what we call a researcher. And he helps individuals to leave the truth. I leave the Watchtower organization. The truth is just basically Jesus. And I was shocked. I'm like, why would my mother want to become Facebook friend with someone who is against the Watchtower and Jehovah's organization? So I thought about that. I said, maybe that's why my mom wants me to disassociate myself. Because, of course, at that same time, I was also very calmly telling my mom, leave the walk away from Jehovah's organization, the Watchtower's organization, and give your life to Christ or Jesus. And she did not like that. She told me the truth is Jehovah and the organization. So then I got that message from Instagram or Facebook, and she became Facebook friends with him. And so I thought maybe that's what she wants to do. She wants me to disassociate myself. Then this person from Switzerland, he will help her to leave the religion too. And of course, that never happened. She what I like to call blackmailed me.
Yeah, no, we talked earlier today, and we're communicating this week with one another. Now, you're a Christian man today. Now, we also talked to you. You are a gay man, and so
yes, I am. I'm very open.
So yes, you are, and that's fine. We have gay people calling here, and we love to hear what they have to say and what have you. But I know that being gay in the Watchtower would be really hard. Did you find these gay feelings earlier or later in life?
Well, I was actually started struggling with the same-sex attraction when I was only 12 years old. I don't know if I want to call it I was raped or not. He was 16, I was 12, but we basically started exploring each other. It was under my dad's ex-girlfriend's son. And so from that exploring, I got from exploring to liking it. And then I started struggling it over time, and that feeling was never getting better. It was getting worse. And so, of course, over time, when I got into my late teens, into my 20s, of course, after I got baptized at 18, which was in 1996, my mom spoke to me. I spoke to my mom about this, and all I heard for years is that, and I know the Watchtower's organization taught this for many decades, that you cannot be born gay. And so my mother used to constantly, every couple of weeks, if I was struggling with the same-sex attraction, and I would say yes, and she would say, okay, keep praying to Jehovah because you cannot be born gay. And so I did that for many years. I dropped out of high school. In my junior year in high school, I immediately started studying. I got baptized in 1996. A year later, I became a regular auxiliary pioneer, spending sometimes over 90 hours a month. And I actually met a sister in the congregation who I thought was very attractive. She was a regular pioneer. And I thought that Jehovah was healing me. I started praying to Jehovah, thank you for helping with my same-sex attraction. But in the end of it, it did not get better. It just got worse. And I finally gave up. And so then, of course, right when I left in year 2004, that's when a new light came in the Watchtower's organization saying that, yeah, I know, brothers and sisters, we taught for decades that you cannot be born gay. Well, there's been a new light, and now you can be born gay, and now you're just going to have to be celibate for the rest of your life. And I was like, I can't be celibate the rest of my life. I couldn't. I wanted a relationship. And so that's when I basically told my mother that I didn't really tell her the real reason. I told her that I was gay. And I met somebody online, and I left. And that was the reason, but the big reason was that the change in the Watchtower. I'm like, how can you be teaching this for decades that no human being can be born gay, and suddenly a new light comes and now you can be born gay? That's just, I couldn't handle that anymore.
Yeah, no, I remember the article, and they had, I think it was a 2 or 3 part article, and they were saying that there are many gay people in the Watchtower, but they are what they consider non-practicing gay, homosexual. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's interesting. But now that must have caused your mother to go into a raging mood. I mean, how'd she feel about it? I mean, she knew you were gay. Did that come into her mind? Did she kind of preach to you about that, about inheriting the kingdom? You made a statement. You made a statement today that, I think she made a statement about you're not going to inherit the kingdom, but you came back with another statement. Tell the audience about that.
Yes, of course, over the years, after I walked away from the Watchtower's organization, and of course, even after I disassociated myself, my mom would always, when we would have lunches, despite that I disassociated myself, and my mom would constantly tell me that you can't be disfellowship for associating someone who's disfellowship or disassociated. And she would always mention that no matter how much you pray to Jehovah, no matter how much you do anything to Jehovah, he's never gonna listen to your prayers until you basically, for being openly gay. And then I many times would go to my mother very calmly and say, well, Mom, it's interesting that the Bible says that you cannot inherit God's kingdom if you're a homosexual, but at the same time in the Bible, John 3, verse 3, and I read it to her, it clearly states that no one can inherit God's kingdom unless you are born again. And then I brought up the 3 different old Watchtower articles saying that only the 144,000 are born again. And if you're not part of that 144,000, you're not a born again. So I looked at my mom and said, well, then I guess if I'm not going to be in the kingdom of God, then you won't either. And she did not like that. She just called me, I'm an apostate. You hate Jehovah. You hate Jehovah's organization. She could not answer back to me with that.
Well, that was a good comeback. But now you're a logical sounded man. You articulately speak well, Victor. And I like your ability to come out and say, hey, look, I'm open. You're not holding anything back. And many witnesses have many thoughts about that. But now, you are a Christian today. You do go to church, right?
Well, of course, like I said, I just moved a little over a month ago from Arizona. But before I left Arizona, I was going to a non-denominational Christian church where all is welcome. They didn't care if you're gay, straight, bisexual, heterosexual. It's just here about God. It's about Jesus. They just use the Bible. No Watchtower literature, no weight literature. It's just the trust of Jesus. And they said, yes, there's Bible scriptures talks about homosexuality, but that is between God and human beings. It's not us to judge.
Well,
and my mom, of course, for many years didn't like that. She kept telling me, no, it's not the truth. The truth is the Watchtower. The truth is going to the Kingdom Hall meetings. No matter how many times you go to your church and what your pastor and your priest says, it's not the truth. And of course, I want to make a note. I tell my mom, I go, Mom, your governing body members, your elders, your ministerial servants, how many of them even have any spiritual degree? My pastor in Arizona, more than 40 years, he went to college and went to seminary school and got the master's in spirituality. He knows the truth about the Bible. Do the Watchtower and the Wake supposed to do that? No, they just adhere whatever the governing body and the elder says. There's no what the Bible says. It's just about the organization.
Well, you're absolutely right. It's all about the organization. But no, in fact, there's a lot of gay people. We have them on our program, and even Jesus. And I'm glad that you brought this up. He didn't run away from people that had different walks in life. He wanted to meet with these people and talk with these people and try to see how they feel about certain things. So I appreciate that. And that's how I feel. As a matter of fact, we have a woman on our program. In fact, she comes on late at night. Her name is Apostle Babe, and she's a lesbian woman. But I treat her. I find that she's very articulate, like yourself. She does a fantastic job getting people to listen in. But I don't hold her with some type of reproach because she's different than I am. I love to listen to see what she says. But now, how did they? I'm just curious here, Victor. How did they deal with you in the church? This is what I always wondered this about the gay movement and the gay people. How in Christian gays specifically, how do they deal with that scripture? How does the pastor deal with that? I'm not doing it in a digging way or an obstinate way, but I'm just finding how do you feel about inheriting the kingdom? I think you kind of did bring it up here a little bit that God will be the judge, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Well, my pastor in Arizona, I'll be honest, he's also gay. He's married to a man, and before I joined that church, he done seminars about what the Bible says, and he mentioned many things. I think King Solomon or King David, and Sapphira, or I forget Esther. I forget what it was when they were in the same-sex relationship. And he mentioned that until 1947 or 1946, he very clearly told me there was never any scriptures in the Bible referring to the same sex until that year, and he started adding it into the scriptures. And so I said, and of course he told that the Bible clearly says you cannot add, you can't take away, and you cannot subtract from the original scripture of the Bible. He goes, so adding things in there into the Bible in the 1940s, that's against God.
Well, my goodness, so that would have probably been Corinthians, the 6th chapter, 1 Corinthians 6, that deals with who will inherit the kingdom. That's fascinating. No, but thank you for sharing that with us, because I know that's on the mind of a lot of people. But I feel here, like you do, I'm not going to judge. I can't judge. I have enough problems of my own. And Jesus, God will ultimately be the one who will do the judging on all of this. But I'm glad that you can at least share those thoughts with us. Thank you, Victor. Well, let's do this. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I know I texted you about this earlier today or yesterday. Until 2019, I never knew how to defend the Bible to my mother, who's very active Jehovah's Witness. She's very devoted to the religion. Until 2019, and finally, when I've heard for so many years, her telling me I follow the one and only true religion, I follow all what the Bible says, yada, yada, yada. I finally, because I was doing so much research in my church that I go to, and in the Bible, I went to I private messaged on my mother on Facebook Messenger, and I quoted like at least 10 Bible scriptures that Jehovah's Witnesses are forbidden to follow. Like, for example, 1 Timothy 2, verse 5 and 6. There's only one God and one mediator between Christ Jesus, and he sacrificed all mankind. I'm like, that's not the truth. Also, Philippians 2, verse 10, it says, everyone must bow down on the knees of Jesus up in heaven, on earth, and under the ground. But Jehovah's Witnesses, if you all don't know, since the 1950s, if you're a Jehovah's Witness and you worship Jesus, they consider that idolatry, and they'll disfellowship you. So they're going against the Bible, and I defended that to my mom.
Well, geez, you're a sharp guy doing that. Now, I know, man, there was disfellowship for worshiping Jesus, but no, you got it right, and I love what you said to your mother. You know, she's so sure that she's going to enter into the kingdom of God, but really, when you stop and think about it, if she's not of the anointed, I mean, as the Jehovah's Witness teach, the anointed are really the only ones that have a connection. They're the only ones that have a covenant with God. So, I mean, I don't know where the great crowd fits in. I guess they're just going to get into the kingdom by extension. That's what the Watchtower would say. But
exactly.
You got to be in a covenant. Geez, that's so fascinating. But you know, your mother, we talked about this too. Your mother, you know, she talked to you, then she wouldn't talk to you. And then, you know, that can make a person very hard to understand where your mother's coming from. I'm sure that ran through your mind. But as we were discussing things today, you know, as my mother can talk or not, see what it is right now, Victor, the organization is sending out totally mixed messages. People are not really grasping what the Watchtower is saying because they're saying things so ambiguously. Seriously. So that goes to show you. In other words, what they're saying here is they want the witnesses, that they have a letter writing campaign. That's all they're doing right now because they can't go out and door-to-door work because of COVID. So they're writing people letters all over the place, all over the world. Tons and tons of letters are being written to everybody and anything that moves. And they're trying to encourage people who left the truth. They're trying to encourage people that disassociate to come back to Jehovah. So I think your mother is kind of in her own mind rationalizing. She's thinking that, well, you know, the Watchtower is kind of like they'll cut me slack. They're not going to bother me for talking to my disassociated son. But she's got that wrong. She could be disfellowshipped if they found out about that.
And no, and I told you that on that message earlier. I told my mother many times, years after I disassociated. And I told her, one day you're going to get caught, and the elders are going to find out, and they're going to either take your privileges away or disfellowship. And my mom just looks at me over and over, year after year. She smiles at me with a little smart aleck attitude and says, "You're wrong, Victor." And this is my problem with the religion and my mother. She doesn't say that she personally, as the mother, can associate with me no matter what. she tells me it's Jehovah's Witnesses' choice. If they want to associate with someone who's disfellowshipped or disassociated, and they will not be disciplined. And I told my mother this. I go, why did it suddenly change the moment I left the religion? Before I left, that's all I heard. We heard it 800 million times. Cut all ties. We heard it on the district assemblies, circuit assemblies, one-day assemblies, how hard it is, brothers and sisters, but we have to do it because of Jehovah's organization. Shun, shun, shun. Now, suddenly I left, it all changes. And why is it only my mother and my brother? My dad cuts me off. He's an elder. My aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my grandparents, all of them don't talk to me. Before I left Arizona, my little brother and I lived less than 5 miles away. And to this day, I've never met my niece and nephew. And my brother told me, you want to have a relationship with my children? Come back to Jehovah. And I told my brother, Benjamin, I did come back to Jehovah. I just left the Watchtower organization. And like everyone we all know is, if you left the Watchtower, you left God.
There you go. No, you're nailing it. You're nailing it. Now, another thing that got my interest, and just about everybody that's ever came on and told their stories here on the 6 screens, they know or have experienced either close friends in the Watchtower or relatives that engaged in pedophilia. You did mention something about that. Tell the audience.
Yes, I don't want to use his name out loud, but in 2013, one of my relatives passed away, and he died from alcoholism. God rest his soul. And so it was on my dad's side of the family, and after the funeral was over, we had the wake, and I ran to one of my uncles, and I just basically spoke to him. We had a nice little half-hour talk, and of course, he was telling me he's good in the truth. He got remarried recently, earlier that year in 2013. And then he asked about his 2 children, who are now grown up in their 30s. And I was like, so-and-so, I haven't seen my 2 cousins or your 2 sons for more than 20 years. So I felt really bad for him. He looked like he was about to cry. So I felt bad for him. I didn't know the circumstances. He hadn't seen his kids for more than 20 years. So finally the funeral, the wake, it all ended. We went our separate ways. Finally, about a year or so later, I got a private message on Facebook. It was a woman, and she basically private messaged me. She asked me some just common questions. What's your mother's name? What's your father's name? Do you have any brothers and sisters? Were you a Jehovah's Witness? I told her, and then she basically said, I think we have a long distance relation relatives. We don't really know each other long distance. So and then she just went her separate ways. Finally, and I think it's in 2015, that woman on Facebook private messaged me and sent me a picture of my grown-up cousin now. And I was like, what? I haven't seen you for, oh my God, are you in disguise as a woman, as so-and-so, my cousin? And he said yes. And I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? How are you doing? And of course, he said he's doing good. And I told him about his dad, that we saw each other in 2013 at a funeral, and he said he hasn't seen you for a long time, and he wants to find you. Long story short, my cousin, who's now getting in the 30s, he informed me that their dad, my flesh and blood uncle, back in the 80s, all the way into the early 90s, all while he was an active Jehovah's Witness, he committed incest and raped his flesh and blood children. And this went on for a year. And apparently, my oldest cousin, when he knew this was happening to his dad, he didn't realize that his dad was also raping his younger brother and their mother. So 3 people he's committing rape constantly. And so finally, long story short, what my cousin told me that the mother couldn't handle it anymore. Apparently, the wife, when him and his husband would go to sleep each night, she'd be woken up in the middle of the night, him trying to basically having sex with her while she is sleeping. And she, of course, said, this is disgusting. We're sleeping. We can't be having sex while we're sleeping. And so he's like, well, come on, let me finish my little jolly. You know what I'm talking about.
Jeez.
And so finally, she couldn't handle it anymore, as they were all Jehovah's Witnesses. So she finally, after many years, she spoke to the elders. And of course, the elders, you know, they're love bombing. They said, "Oh, sister so-and-so, we're so sorry. We will investigate this as soon as possible." Blah, 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 blah. So, of course, as we all heard it before, she went to the husband, or my uncle. She basically said that your wife said this and this and this is going on. And, of course, my relatives laughed about it and said, "Me? I'm a Jehovah's Witness. Me committing incest and raping my wife? Give me a break. She's my wife. Of course we have sex. And me committing incest? No way." So then not long, we all know the two witness rule that the Jehovah's Witnesses like to use. And sure enough, after my uncle and the elders finished, the elders went back to my aunt and basically said, "I'm sorry, sister so-and-so. We cannot continue this investigation." Or basically they asked the question, "Is there more than one witness with this rape?" And of course the wife said, "Of course not." They said, "Well, you have to follow what the scripture says in Proverbs, that you have to have at least two witnesses or more to investigate this. And because there's no two witnesses, it's you against him. We have to dismiss it and basically just trust in Jehovah, hallelujah, and praise the Lord." And so now, from what I understand, that when that all ended, she went home, and then my relative confronted his wife and said, "I warned you before, if you ever contact the body of elders, they're never going to believe me. I'm the head of the house, I'm this, I'm that. And sure, because you did it, I denied it, and now, of course, the raping got worse." And so she didn't know what to do. Thank goodness. I don't know the whole story, but she got involved with a lawyer, and a very good lawyer, and they helped her disappear out of Arizona, which is another state. And I know that he was arrested. I don't know how many months or years later. He was arrested. He was charged. And from what I understand, he was registered when he got out of jail. Sooner or later, he was registered as a registered sex offender. And the saddest part and the craziest part of it all is I did a background check on my relative, finding out that since I think it was 1994, he was arrested 64 times, including one of them was admitted that he failed to register as a sex offender in the county that he was living into. But now, of course, he's holier than holy. He's an active Jehovah's Witness. And from what I understand, in 2015, it says on his Facebook that he's been a regular pioneer since this time. Everything's great and wonderful. And of course, the ending of that story is when I finally messaged my mom in 2019 for all those Bible scriptures, I also informed my mother about the disgusting pedophile of my relative. And instead of my mom looking into it and saying, "Oh my goodness," she just dismisses me and was bitter and angry. And she's basically read my riot and said, "Done."
That
I
is,
just could not understand the real truth.
that is terrible. Well, thank you for sharing that story. Now, what I'd like to do here, we got about 15 minutes left, and I'd like to open up the lines. I mean, people would love to talk to you, I'm sure. We got a former Jehovah's Witness. His name is Victor Hernandez. Well, he lived in Arizona, but he's out there in Washington State, and he's an openly gay man. And he was willing to come on tonight and tell his story about his trek in the Watchtower. And maybe you got a question for Victor. Well, why don't you?
Hey, Rick, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead. He's on
my ear.
He's on with
You
us.
had said that in one of the publications they had mentioned that they recognize that they have gay members in the hall. You said, but it says but they don't act on it. But it did say in the publication that they said they do recognize now that they have gay members.
Oh yeah, no, that's exactly right. In fact, I believe it was a 2-part study article where they did recognize.
Oh, when was that? I haven't read an article in like decades. When was that?
Well, I would have to say, I don't have it in front of me here, but I would have to say it was, I know Johnny the Bethelite that used to come on our program. He hasn't been on for 2 years. It was right around the time he hasn't come on. So I would say 2 years ago.
Oh, I'm shocked to hear that.
Yeah.
I am very shocked. I mean, needless to say, I'm sure everybody could name a few gay people, in the hall. Obviously gay. I mean, that's just a given.
Yeah.
But I was shocked to hear when you said that now they recognize it.
Yeah.
I was very shocked to hear that. And everything that he said in his story is shocking, but it's really nothing new. Because I've heard it, like the different things about the shunning and gay being kicked out for gay, and then the child the family thing and all that. It's shocking, but it is nothing new at all. Nothing new.
You are
at
absolutely
all.
right, correct. I've heard it all a million times before.
Yes, nothing new.
Well, that's what I liked about Victor. Boy, he's good at he can tell the story good without rambling on. He does really good. He's very articulate. I like his style. He does a good job, and it's just amazing to me that he never really connected with the witnesses. And why should he? Why should he? I mean, sometimes people they're picked on. Sometimes people are chastised. Get to walk in another person's shoes for a while, and then you can see their whole story. Hey, by the way, Shirley, I wanted to ask you too. Did you try to get into the Six Queens video suite tonight?
Yeah, I'm in it now, but there's nothing going on. We're just a few people. The chat is going on, but that's kind of stagnant. But there's no
I have
sound or
I have not been able
no
to.
picture, no sound.
Well, maybe they got it back up, but there was no earlier. I could not get on, but let me check. I'm still getting an error, so I'll play around with it and see if we can't get it back on. So say Rick's working on it, but they were working on it again, doing some type of an upgrade. And they did it on the night we're on again, but we're looking to go into another conference center anyways. But tell the people what they're working on it. Thank you very much, Shirley.
Yeah, I have another question for Victor real quick. Are you there, Victor?
Yes, ma'am. I'm right here.
Have you heard of a site? There's another site called Jehovah'sWitness.com, I think. It's run by this guy named Simon. But anyway, it's like people, they come in and discuss their experiences. Have you ever been on that website? For XJW?
No. The only one I go to a lot is JW Facts a lot.
Okay, because I'm not too crazy about that site myself, but I won't get into that right now. But anyway, everything you said tonight about being shunned, there's always been like an open thread about my mother, father, sister, brother died. Like I just found out my mother died, just found out my father died, just found out my sister, brother, and on because they're being shunned. That's always a thread, a subject on that, on that site.
Well, that's one of the things. Well, that's one of the things that my mother has done for so many years, and she did it this year, including that. Whenever I speak about the Watchtower organization, she loves to do it too. She likes to threaten me and informing me that because I speak so bad about Jehovah's organization, that if any of my relatives passes away, I'm not gonna inform you. And so basically, I'm basically screw you up this. And she thinks I'm nothing mad.
Yes, exactly. And like a friend of mine that I've met over there on that site, he has 2 grandsons. Needless to say, he has never met his grandson. He found out that his daughter was pregnant from Facebook.
Yeah.
And the only way he met them, and this is the sad part, the only way he saw those 2 grandsons was at his parents, when his mother and father died. That's the only time he met them. To meet your grandchildren at a funeral when you're burying your parents. That's the only time he has met them.
Like I said, in 2019, I went to a funeral, and my brother was there and his wife, and my niece and nephew were there, and they basically hid behind their parents, wouldn't acknowledge me at all. They just stared at me. So my brother just shook his head, basically shaking his head, saying, "Victor, don't say anything to my children." So I just bit my tongue. I said, "I'm not gonna go. Hey, little so-and-so, how you doing?" Because, of course, all they consider me as an apostate. I'm a horrible person who really hates Jehovah's organization.
Right. And this guy that I just said, he met his grandparents at his parents' funeral. He's really lucky because his family, his daughters, they were really open. He took pictures and everything, and they were open. They didn't shut him there. But, my goodness, who's going to die next? Him? And then they'll find out how they really feel. Because to give you another example, he has 2 daughters that will not speak to him. One of his daughters, her marriage broke up. And he was an elder too, but I don't know, usually in a breakup you always think there's somebody else on the side. But anyway, his daughter, when she was all broken hearted about that, he tried to talk to her. He used to write letters to both his daughters and everything. When this daughter's marriage broke up, guess who called him? That daughter. Because she was heartbroken. But he tried to call her again, and no, it's over now. Oh, she's better now. She's recovered. But then you see how the natural thing came in. She went to her father and he consoled her and talked to her. But now I guess she's feeling better. He hasn't heard from her since.
Wow, it's the same old story. Same old story. Hey, listen, we only got a few minutes left here, but we got some other people who want to come in. But thank you, Shirley, for coming in and talking with Victor. Go ahead. We get some more callers. Go ahead, caller. We got about 5 or 6 minutes left. Go ahead.
Hey, Victor, I got a quick question for you. You mentioned that scripture about men that lie with spinach, that was added in the 40s, and it really wasn't part of the Bible. Did you do research of all the Bibles, or? I find that interesting.
I sure did. I did all the research at all after my pastor in Arizona told me the situation. I did all the research, and you could verify that there are really no scriptures prior to that time of talking about homosexuality and how you cannot inherit God's kingdom. It's all been added onto there. My pastor from Arizona, also told me, and I did the research, and I don't remember what exact year. It was in the late 1800s, like 1890s, maybe 1880s, and there was actually I forgot the wording. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, concerning what your pastor.
I'm there. I forgot what I was saying.
Well, I just find it really fascinating because I always believed that the Bible condemned homosexuality, and you're saying that isn't in the Bible and they just added it, and you could be right.
And like I said, I could give you my pastor's number. He'll tell you he spent years, he did the research, he went back more than 40 years, he went to seminary school, and he looked at everything. You really can find out. And I've been on some of the private Jehovah's Witness chat lines about this. And the Jehovah's Witnesses tried to defend the Watchtower in the Bible, saying there were scriptures back in the 17th century talking about homosexuality. And I go, prove it to me. You show me a scripture. And they couldn't answer it.
Well, that's fascinating because that's for sure.
Yeah. You definitely do the research. You can find out very easily. Google it. I did it.
Wow, that's fascinating. Well, anyways, Victor, my goodness, we had a great show here tonight. You really presented yourself well. People connected with your story. Now, I don't want you to be a stranger. Here on the Sixth Range. Listening from time to time, check in, and I'd like to see how you're doing. And we wish you the best out there in Washington. I know you just recently moved, but I hope it all goes well for you. And I hope things can work out the best way, Victor.
Okay, thanks. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for coming on. Well, that's Victor Hernandez, former Jehovah's Witness. He told his story tonight on the Sixth Screen. But we have got Heart to Heart. That's coming up in just a couple of minutes here, about 5 minutes. But it'll give me a chance just to say hello to the audience here for about 5 minutes. I want to tell you that things have really been heating up here at the Sixth Screens. Lots of new callers are calling in. Friends, I can only attribute it to the fact that so many people are now leaving the Watchtower. And, they're beginning to find out what the Watchtower is really hiding behind. Friends, it's a very dangerous and a destructive cult. And we're pleased to be able to bring you these news programs every Saturday night. We've been doing it for 16 years. And we're glad to have a new audience, too, on YouTube. And you can get onto my page, Rick Fearon YouTube, and you can watch us there. You can make comments, and that'll be up on our YouTube channel. We're also live on Facebook. Now, tomorrow there'll be there will be a Sixth Screen Sunday tomorrow. And that is when we go into, one of the Jehovah's Witnesses who leave the organization, what do they do for spirituality when they leave? Well, many become atheists. Many become agnostic. Many don't want to touch God with a 10-foot pole. They feel like they're jumping out of the frying pan into the fire. But on Sunday, we do have a different program. It's a Sixth Screen Sunday, we call it. We have a few programs that are kind of Christian. They are Christian programming, but it's all about, the Jehovah's Witnesses, former Jehovah's Witnesses for the most part, that do the programs, and they tell you what they've done for spirituality when they left the Watchtower. Like we were just saying there earlier, talking with Victor, when many people leave the Watchtower, they leave God behind. But check it out. I mean, if you want to know what people do for spirituality, we got 4 good programs tomorrow. We got Anne Marie's program. She's searching for God's truth in the New World Translation. Now, she's not telling you that it's a great, great, wonderful Bible. She's just saying that you can actually find the truth in the New World Translation. She'll be on there tomorrow, and she's going to be talking about how people in the Watchtower feel about Armageddon. They really look at it as something real. I mean, they stake their whole life on it. And then also, she's coming on about 3:30, about 3 o'clock. She's coming on around 3. And then at 4, we have Jay Hess. Jay Hess comes on, and he'll be talking to us tomorrow, answering Bible questions. In fact, Jay at one time was actually associated with the writing department in the Watchtower. Has a program tomorrow right here on the 6 screens. And then at 1 o'clock, you don't want to miss this. It's a new program. He was on last week. Jody and Scott. They have a program called Knowing God. These are 2 Christian apologists, and they'll be glad to listen to your thoughts and ideas on Christianity. And they want to talk tomorrow about knowing God and how you can tell God is in existence. So he's coming on tomorrow with that program, both of those guys. So we're looking forward to it. And of course, at 2 o'clock, we do JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about. That's our Sunday edition. So that's great. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is, if you're trying to call in, you're listening now on Facebook and YouTube. If you're trying to call in, some providers don't allow you to call to a conference call. They will charge you. But if you're having trouble with that, I'm going to give you an app. Get a free app. Go to the App Store on Google or on Apple. Get an app. Download the app. And then what you do is the meeting online password is JW Talk, all in smaller case. And then just dial the telephone number to come into the program. And you'll be in, and no charge. 727-731-6701. I believe just about every country that I can think of can dial in free, but Canada, for some reason, I'm checking out why they don't let you come in Canada, but we're going to try to get that resolved. So get that app, Free Conference Call. That's the name of the app. And friends, like I say, don't send any money here. Do not send any money. I appreciate you wanting to help the 6 screens, but I'm okay. I get a little studio here. Cost me a few bucks, but it's not like multi-thousands and millions. But it's my pleasure to be able to spend money to help you. So don't send money. Those that have, I appreciate it, but don't send any more money. Give it to somebody that can really use it. Give it to a lot of people out of work. A lot of people are hurting right now. Give it to someone that can really use it. Then the best way you can help me here. How can you contribute to the 6 screens? You can help me by speaking up. When you speak up, that's worth more than gold to me. So when you speak up and you say things on the 6 screens, people are hearing it all over the world. The message is getting out. The Watchtower is dead. It just hasn't fallen over yet. Well, now you're right up to date on what's going on behind the scenes of the Watchtower. And I want you to stay tuned for Dan and Angela. Heart to Heart. They got a great guest coming on. Stay with us. We appreciate you coming in. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower. Please turn off the new light. We're now going to Heart to Heart. Let's do it now. Make sure the recording's up. And we'll get this program off and running. So let's do it. And let me just shut the Facebook off. Give me a second. Just got to do a couple of adjustments here. And we got to get certain things off so that if I play music on Facebook, they give me trouble for that. So we won't do it. So we will play the music on our SoundCloud. We can do that. Okay, so we've got Dan and Angela up next right here on the 6 Screens Telenetwork.
You're on the 6 Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney
above us only sky.